didn't really matter. Now he's not that guy anymore, so he has to muck it up a little bit. He has to fall on the ground,
Right.
bulldoze a few people.
Yeah.
But he's built for it. It's strange. He seems, and it's just one game, so we'll see how they change things around. But he seems a whole lot more ready to play the Bucks than he was to play the Celtics. You see that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, look, my biggest and you had tweeted about this also in terms of like like how hard are they trying in the Celtics series, but like the biggest I guess upside I had in my head about this Bucks series was like they to me the Nets this year are like the classic NFL team that like plays to their competition and like and so like I was just the whole time I was thinking like the Nets are playing this Celtics series and I almost wondered like are they almost like trying to get through this like unscathed, not getting hurt, whatever? Because like I think they know it's a wrap, and a lot of those Celtics games to me felt closer for a while than they should have, and like whether. And I don't think that's because the Celtics were so great. I think it was just because, like, I think the Nets do kind of play to what they think the other team is going to go at, what speed it's going to go at.
Yeah,
Um,
there's scrimmages sometimes, man, and even in the playoffs, that one game they lost in Boston, they came out just so listless because it was like, we're gonna sweep these guys anyway. There's no Jalen Brown out here. Look at this Marcus Smart's face. He's ugly. You can't be a champion and be that ugly. So they never thought they were gonna do anything, and they really didn't do anything. Gentlemen sweep. Uh, but let's talk about a matchup that everyone was waiting for in this series. I'm not gonna taint your mind, my young Esquire. Elucidate on the Kyrie Irving and Drew Holiday matchup. What did you say?
so it's funny. So if you start going the other way with Kyrie on D, I mean, Drew, I mean, let's like being totally real, like this Bucks team is totally different because of him, and he just like provides a different feel when he's on the court. He's totally in control. He made a couple of shots yesterday that I thought kept the Bucks in the game in like the third and fourth quarter when like it already felt like it was slipping away. Like I think he's just cool as the other side of the pillow. Like he trusts himself. And on D, look like Kyrie is so good, and like you've said this a million times, and I totally agree. Like he's got like this more skilled, even more hand-eye coordinated version of Kobe, where it's like even if you have good D on him, it like he's going to find his separation. Like he knows how to get a shot off at any angle. He knows how to use the glass better than anybody. He can use his left hand, go spin either way. So like he is going to like create enough space that like it you can have a great defender, but it doesn't necessarily like matter a whole lot. And so look
What?
like I mean, but look, I was happy because look, Drew was the guy that we were all talking about, and we were really nervous about, and I thought he did a decent job, but like it wasn't the be all end all. I mean, look, I thought it was interesting. I mean, they started Giannis on Kyrie to start the game with Drew on Harden,
Right.
and
That was very
and
weird.
and and Tucker on KD, and then they were making switches, during the whole game. But I mean, look, overall, like Kyrie got his, and Kyrie, like from an efficiency standpoint, didn't even shoot as well as he usually does, especially from three.
Yeah. I'm waiting to see Kyrie really bust out and have a I'm crushing everyone game. But look, Drew Holiday is not on the level of Kyrie Irving.
Yep.
He he is very physical. Like going to the basketball to the basket, he's so big and strong. Like I could see him just kind of jumping up in the air and both sides of his shoulders just being strong enough of taking him where he wants to in and around the basket. So um, I wouldn't call him unstoppable,
No.
right?
No.
He was 17, 9 rebounds, 6 assists last night. Kyrie Irving on a night that we would agree wasn't a great night for him, right? He was uh let me see here, 11 of 26 shooting,
Yep.
42%. that's not a Kyrie night, right? But
Nope.
he still was 25, 5, and 8 with a steal and a couple of other, kind of cool little defensive things.
Yep.
Kyrie is a superstar.
Yep.
Drew, and not just based off this one game. If you just look at the effect of the overall series, Drew Holiday is a star. He's a good player. He's a some year I'm in the NBA All Star game. Some years I'm not. I'm close, but I'm not. He and I don't know if it changes anything. If it's just which the question I think everyone has on their mind before we talk about Durant is, matter of fact, we'll talk about Durant first, and then we'll go to the question that everyone has on their mind, which is, can they win this without Harden? And we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
What, like, it's not a comparison to compare Durant to Giannis. He does so much more than Giannis does. That's not, I don't think anybody's arguing that Giannis is on the same level as KD. But Kevin Durant showed us something yesterday that I think, basketball minds need to kind of figure out a way to measure it. When you have Kevin Durant on your team, it so puts other teams in a frenzy to figure out how to stop him that
Yep.
great defenders look terrible. Like Giannis's face walking off the court, he left early. Uh, his face was just one of like, how the hell am I gonna solve this dude? And it must be tough. 7 feet, dribbles like a guard, shoots like he shoots like Steve Nash shot the basketball, and at the same time being 7 feet. It's crazy what you have to do to stop this guy, and what you see in person, watching the game in real life, is just how fast he is. And I mean, it must look ridiculous on the court because for something that big, that fast, to move in angles and fit in spaces and glide through the air like how Kevin Durant does, it must be disheartening for the other team. Like, how does it make you feel watching that dude and knowing he's on your side?
Yeah. I mean, look, I thought he actually had like, I mean, look, we all like respect and appreciate him and whatnot, but
Yep.
I thought he was awesome on D. I thought he rebounded really well. I thought, and just like exactly what you said. I mean, you said it perfectly. Like the pressure he puts on teams because he's unguardable, but at the same time, like can slice and move in any single way. It puts everybody else on thin ice. And like as you said, the scariest thing for the Bucks about yesterday would be like, look, you didn't even get like an insane game like out of him.
Yeah.
He missed said that I was expecting, and he also got into foul trouble. Like
Some of those shots he would miss, like the building was ready to just
oh,
explode if he hit some of those shots. But still, some of these shots that he hit, man, like I'm telling you, we got home and my son just was like, he took off all the stuff he was wearing. He put on some old basketball shorts and was doing push-ups and jump rope, and he's like, I got to get better. And that's a hell of a thing. Like I always say that kids play lacrosse now in New York City because the Knicks have been so shitty. It depressed an entire generation of basketball players. But my son lost it. I bought him a new Nets, one of the mini balls,
uh-huh.
and it was the strangest thing. Like he just wouldn't. He dribbled the entire way home. He was like, Dad, like, do you see like how he goes right and then goes left so fast? He's like, is that a crossover? I'm like, yeah, it's a crossover. But it's inspiring, man. Like KD is just a force of nature, man. It's a pleasure to watch. You want to cap your KD thought off?
No, yeah. I mean, he's like, I mean, he is. It's funny, like everyone, like people will try to take like shots at him or whatever, be like, oh yeah, the dude just likes to hoop, but it's like it honestly is like true. Like the dude is like him and Kyrie in their own ways, like are basketball artists and they're savants at the sport, and they do just like see things happening before everyone else does, and like they find space where there isn't space, it's just kind of crazy when you see the stuff that they're doing, and they have one goal in mind, which is like them or someone on their team scoring, and they find just different ways to contort their body and get their hands in the right place that like they'll be able to dish it off or be able to score in a way that like other people have never been able to do. And it's, I mean, like the play that everyone went crazy about, like that was almost ended up feeling like commonplace at a certain point, was like the Kyrie like up and under, like with left hand, like that to him was like, I mean, he does that stuff in his sleep at this point. Like it's, I mean, but you're like watching it and you're just like, oh, like what am I seeing here?
It's such a superior level of basketball. And one more person I need to shout out, I'm choking, is Mike James. Who is Mike James? Who is Mike James? Who? Mike James. The one and only. You can't control. Mike James. What the hell? Where did that come from, partner?
I mean, look, as I've said to you before, like, and I think I said it to Bam when he was on, like, when Mike James is feeling himself, it's pretty scary, to be honest, because
why did Mike James get drafted? Like, how did this happen? This dude looks I'm not saying he's better than all of the Knicks point guards, but I wouldn't trade him for any of the Knicks. Did you see how he came off? And I know it all could be lies. I know it could be all a very good playoff defense who focused in and keyed in on stopping and taking away the two superstars. And they tried. It didn't work very well. I mean, it did work, but not well enough. And it just let, the rest of the light-skinned Nets just take off. But what the hell? Is he good, or is he just playing with KD and Kyrie? I mean, both could be true.
Look, I don't know, man. He really, like, so I was surprised that he still, like, they put him in before Tyler, which always makes me nervous because I'm like the captain of the Tyler fan club. But it did in a way make sense because they did kind of need that jolt of like extra offense, which like
they needed
Tyler
a ball handler.
Yeah, and Tyler ends up being more of a game manager, and right. James is just so fast, and he really puts some like life in the ball. It's kind of like the difference between like James to me is a little bit like the relief pitcher that comes in that's a little wild but like throws gas, as opposed to like like the guy who just gets like ground ball outs or whatever. And like I mean, look, James comes in and like he like the defense has to be honest on him because like he's really fucking quick and he's really shifty and he's not like an easy guard. Like he's not just like Tyler who kind of picks his spots and shoots his lefty threes whenever he's got it. No,
I wouldn't have appreciated it as much watching it on TV because television has a way of making some very remarkable basketball players look very mediocre. His change of direction and the way he squares up and shoots, like I don't know if that's coming from playing in Europe. Again, he's not that old. If you can, while I'm talking, look up how old he is because I'm interested to know that. And I'm thinking he's 25. I might be wrong.
So he's an interesting case because he didn't have to leave the NBA. So like he's 30.
He's like
he went to Europe because he just wanted to make money and like and play more. Like he could have stayed in the NBA and like done his thing, but like he was like, no, like I'm gonna like be like a star in Europe and because I remember when he was on the Suns, I always thought he was really good. Like I was like, this guy can play.
I have never seen him play good. So I